Good morning or afternoon, everyone. I'm Shannon Adamson. I'm an interior designer, and I've been invited by Ivy to talk to you all about utilizing trade resources, which is a really important part of what we do as interior designers. So what I want to go over to today is to talk to you about how the trade resources can give you an access to a whole world of finishes and textiles and furniture that are available only to interior designers. We'll talk a lot about how trade pricing works and what that means for you, for your clients, and your business's bottom line, and then how to use trade resources. So just a little background on myself. Like many of you, I've loved interior design from a young age. I studied and received my bachelor's degree in interior design from Utah State University in Logan. And I did an internship in the United Kingdom. After that, I've been in the industry for about 13 years, working for different companies, doing everything from hospitality design to restaurant design to residential design. Last year, I fulfilled one of my longtime dreams and started my own company in August, Shannon Adamson Interior Design. And so like a lot of you, I'm kind of new to the whole starting my own business thing. I have a lot of industry experience, but starting my own thing is new to me. So I've learned a lot. I have had the advantage of working for several companies and seeing how they operate. So that's really informed how I run my business. The catalyst for doing this webinar came from a recent realization that I had with Facebook conversations and in-person conversations with other designers, especially newer designers, people who might just be out of design school or just starting their own gig, who didn't know about trade resources or aren't sure how to utilize them. And since that to me has just been standard practice in the companies I've worked for before, I was wanting to share that knowledge with all of you. A couple of disclaimers: I'm not being paid by any company to talk to you about this. I'm not being paid to promote specific vendors. All of this is just standard practice, like I said, in my experience in the design world, and it's something that I want to share with you. That being said, all the information I'm sharing with you, it's all based on my own experiences. There's not like a textbook way to do stuff. So I've worked in several different markets and several, with lots of different vendors. And so this is pretty typical of what my experience has been. Your results may vary. A few housekeeping items. Again, I really want to thank Ivy for inviting me to do this today. For those of you who don't know about Ivy, Ivy is a new community and a business management tool. It's built specifically for interior designers. So I joined Ivy because when I was first starting out, I wanted a reliable software that would allow me to do purchasing and all of that wasn't comically outdated. A lot of you who have used other design software know that it's kind of stuck in the 90s. So the purchasing system's been awesome. The community's been great. And I've learned so much from the members. We'll be reviewing a lot of material today, and you can watch the webinar after it's aired to review some of that material too. We'll be taking questions at the end. So make sure you're putting your questions not into the live chat bar on the side, but into the questions tab on the bottom of the presentation window. So, all right, let's begin. I'll pull up my little share screen here with you. So, to the trade resources. So the subtitle of this is to break your dependence on retail vendors and make your business more viable. So we'll get into that. So we'll start at the beginning. What does to the trade mean? Well, it's a term that's used to describe an establishment that sells specifically to people in the design trade. That's us, interior designers. We are the trade. Typically, these establishments sell goods exclusively to interior designers. They offer a significant discount of 40 to 50% off retail pricing on those goods. It's not a 10 to 20% discount like retailers give you. It's a significant discount. That discount is commonly referred to as trade pricing or designer net pricing. So we'll be using that terminology a lot throughout the presentation. Where do we find to the trade vendors? Such a good question. The primary resource I would say would be at regional design centers. You can also find them online or at trade market shows like High Point. You can open direct accounts with a lot of the vendors. You can get to the trade resources through independent reps who aren't associated with a showroom. They just have a variety of lines they represent. and also from local workrooms and craftspeople. So let's talk a little bit about design centers and to the trade showrooms. So showrooms that are to the trade, they feature products from companies that make lighting, finishes, furniture, fabrics, trims, etc. Some of the showrooms are owned and operated just by the manufacturer. So you'll see a Kravitz showroom or a Baker showroom or something like that, and those are owned specifically by one manufacturer. Whereas other showrooms represent multiple furniture, lighting, and fabric lines. So these showrooms might have 30 to 40 different manufacturers that they represent. It gives you a really good cross-section of vendors to work with. So like I said, these showrooms sell product to interior designers, and they make a percentage on the items that they sell from the manufacturer. And in exchange for that percentage, they manage and operate the showrooms. They do the communication with the manufacturers for you. They place and track your orders, collect payment, take care of all of that until the item arrives at your receiving warehouse. Where do you find an interior design center near you? Well, there's a really great website. It's called idd.com. It's got hyphens between all of those, and it's a big directory of all the regional design centers in the United States, or it might be in all of North America. So go on here and find what's closest to you. For our friends in Canada, I'm sure that there's the similar site for Canadian resources too. Another thing within these design centers, so design center is almost like a big, if you imagine it being like a shopping mall with individual shops that are the showrooms. Some of them only allow access to interior designers. I know the Denver Design Center at least used to require you to have a designer badge to even go in. At Seattle now, where I work out, they don't really require that. Anyone can walk in, but only designers can purchase at a lot of the showrooms. In addition to the design centers, there are often kind of a whole design district spread around it. So there may be showrooms that aren't associated with the design center, but are located geographically close by that still cater to the trade. So here in Seattle, we have the Seattle Design District. There are a number of smaller showrooms that are located around that too. So don't overlook those spots too. And we'll get into how to work with a showroom in a little bit too. A lot of people don't live near a design center. If you don't live near a major city, it might be kind of a haul to get to one. So in those instances, there are a lot of options. I am from Boise, Idaho. That's where I very first started my career. And in the thriving metropolis of Boise, Idaho, I know that they have a smaller regional design center. So keep an eye out for those. They're still there to service to the trade. They're just on a little bit of a smaller scale. Sometimes too, large furniture stores will offer trade programs, and they have discounts similar to design center showrooms. So that's a good option too. It's a place you can take your clients to sit down and test out furniture. If your local furniture and design resources don't offer trade programs, talk to the owners and ask them to start. Maybe it's something that they don't know there's an interest in, and it's something that they can facilitate for you. One of the designers I used to work with, she lives in northern Minnesota, and she said that she just started going around to her local furniture stores and talking to them about trade programs. So doesn't hurt to ask. Another way to access trade accounts are to open direct accounts with the vendors. So some manufacturers will sell directly to interior designers, and sometimes you can get a better discount by going direct than through a showroom because you're not getting that extra level of service. So a lot of times these manufacturers will have a minimum opening order amount, ranges from say like $500 up to $5,000 depending on if it's accessories or furniture. Oftentimes too, they have a minimum dollar amount of product that you have to order through them during a calendar year to maintain the account. So I think for Lexington, their furniture line, you have to spec $20,000 worth of their product in a year to keep your account open. So for a lot of us, like me, I'm a solo practitioner. It's a little bit difficult for me to keep up with those minimums. But if you have a larger operation, that might be a great option for you. Others sometimes require you to have a showroom floor or a brick and mortar store because they only sell to what are called stocking dealers. So you actually have to have a physical retail presence to be able to get a direct account with those vendors. When you have a direct account, you have to place the orders and track the orders yourself. You have to make sure the payments get sent to them on time. So you're kind of on your own. So I would say a direct account is a good place to go if you've had some practice working with trade showrooms. You kind of understand the process and you're able to take on a little bit more responsibility. So that's direct account vendors. Another place you can go is local craftspeople. I don't care where you live. There is absolutely there are local artisans and workrooms for you to discover. And to me, that's one of the funnest things about being an interior designer is creating a piece from scratch. So you can find people who make furniture, draperies, millwork, all these kinds of things that you can work directly with the makers of the pieces and create locally made custom items. It's a really fun process. And it gives you a good edge over other designers who might not be thinking about creating these custom locally made pieces. It's really, really great too, because when you go into the shop and take progress shots of your project, they're really great for your Instagram account. People love seeing that handmade process, and it's really a great aspect of your brand to present. And most of these shops, they offer some sort of designer pricing, especially for repeat customers. So I've got a drapery workroom that I work with. They make all my draperies, bedding, pillows, all of that stuff. And they are there to sell directly to interior designers. So they offer wholesale pricing. So in those instances, these custom pieces you're having made, you can mark up the items just like anything else you resell to your client. So it's a really good resource that a lot of people don't think about. What I am wanting to talk to everyone about today is how to the trade varies from retail. What's different about them? And when I'm talking about retail, I'm talking about sources like Pottery Barn, West Elm, Serena and Lily, Room and Board, Design Within Reach, Crate and Barrel, Restoration Hardware, Rocher Beaubois, all of those, I guess it's Roche Beaubois, all of those retail places. Again, I think that a lot of interior designers who are just starting out or haven't worked for other companies don't really understand how this works. And so that's kind of the first place they go to. They think furniture and they think retail. So what we're going to be talking about now is sort of what the difference is between working with a retail vendor versus to the trade vendors. If you're sourcing the majority of your furniture, lighting, finishes, etc., from retail vendors, this is kind of the whole point of this seminar. You're missing out on a significant opportunity to offer your clients better prices for higher quality customized pieces, while your business can benefit from a higher product markup. So how does that work? I also, before we started this, I put a little informal survey out on our Ivy design group on Facebook just to ask what percentage of people's business income comes from product markup versus design fees. I think, again, when a lot of designers are starting out, they think that they're going to make the bulk of their money on their design fees, when in fact you can see from this graph that for a lot of firms, it's a very significant portion of their income. I think for larger firms, established firms, it's about 2/3 of their entire business income. So if you think about that and you're not marking up product from wholesale, then it does make it very difficult to be a viable business. You're missing out on a ton of income. Oh, whoever wrote "I have no bloody idea" on their survey is my new best friend, and I really want you to call me and we're gonna go to lunch. So to the trade versus retail. Retail is, they're there to make money, they're there to sell products. So they're focused on mass production of the furniture. They do big production runs, they can make more for less. So because of that, the furniture has to appeal to a very broad audience. And they emphasize maximizing their profit versus maybe having more detailed quality control and making sure their pieces last. The other thing about retail, basically everyone can buy retail items. To the trade, the lines tend to be more focused on custom manufacturing and handcrafted goods. Because of that, the furniture is usually either made to order for kind of customized pieces, or they're made in small production runs. You have a lot more options with finishes, fabrics, that sort of thing. Generally with trade resources, they're emphasizing offering unique pieces that are of high quality. And oftentimes these pieces are only available for our clients to purchase through interior designers. So there's an exclusivity. At retail, as we have been discussing on our Ivy Facebook group a lot, the retailers offer very minimal designer discounts, if at all. They're like 10 to 20% off retail. Oftentimes clients can do better with a coupon or a sale. So that gets really frustrating. For trade vendors, they typically are offering discounts of 40 to 50% off of retail. So it's getting more in the realm of what a wholesale price would be. And those discounts are only offered to interior designers. With retail, another frustration, items are really frequently discontinued or out of stock, and that results in having to kind of scramble to do last minute reselections and making design changes and getting new approvals. With trade resources, they usually keep items in lines for years instead of months. When the pieces are made to order, you don't have to worry about it being discontinued because they're making it for you. With retail stuff, they really don't have much by way of long-term warranties on goods. With trade, especially with upholstery pieces, the manufacturers really stand behind their products. So they have substantial warranties on things like finishes, frames, and fabric. I know that I think most any upholstery line that you use through the trade will have a limited lifetime warranty on the frame. That's really difficult to find in the retail world. Lastly, on retail, the furniture is often imported from China. With higher mid to higher end trade sources, they're usually made in the US. The furniture is made in the US, especially in North Carolina or in Europe. That's going to be important with what we're talking about later on. We'll talk more about that. For retail, it's also for commercial designers, it's really difficult to verify code compliance for commercial spaces. You don't have information on the fire ratings on fabrics or double rubs or things like that. With trade resources, the manufacturers have really extensive documentation for all the components that go into that piece of furniture. Some other stuff you should know about buying retail furniture. This image is how I feel when I have to shop retail furniture. It's kind of a pain. Earlier this year, this really great expose came out on the All about the Peggy sofa from West Elm. I'm not sure if any of you have seen this or not. You really need to read this article. This gal and her boyfriend, they finally got their first piece of grown-up furniture. They dropped $1,200 on the Peggy sofa, and she just outlines the ridiculousness that they had going through the quality issues with the piece of furniture. I think the most enlightening part of this entire article is down here at the bottom. You really need to read this entire article, but basically she went back and forth with West Elm trying to get replacements, trying to figure out what was going on with the sofa. And when she talked to some of the employees at the store, they told her that between 1 and 3 years was normal for a couch with light use. Think about that. 1 to 3 years is what this company considers to be standard lifespan for their sofa. And that's a $1,200 sofa. That's not a $400 IKEA sofa. I have a $400 IKEA sofa and it's lasted way longer than that. So I think this is a really important article to read. It's not just an isolated incident either. The CNBC did an article a few months later about other West Elm quality issues. And it's not just West Elm, it's Pottery Barn, it's a lot of these retailers. I think a very important thing to bring up and a thing to educate our client on. I mean, these companies are charging a lot of money for these pieces of furniture. They're not cheap pieces of furniture. Like I said, it's not a $400 IKEA sofa. It was a $1,200 sofa. She and her boyfriend had to shell out a lot of money for this piece of furniture, and it didn't even last them a couple of months. And because of that, like this article says, the prices on the furniture are high enough that plenty of customers expect better. And the furniture retailer, which is owned by Williams-Sonoma, they're not a stranger to quality complaints. I remember back in the late 90s when I was still in high school hearing people complain about their Pottery Barn furniture falling apart and things like that. This particular chandelier, they charged $79 a piece on Alibaba. Restoration Hardware, for that exact same piece, they charge $1,507. That's at the members' quote-unquote discounted price. So this is what we're talking about. We're talking about how retailers, they have a different focus. They're sourcing these pieces from inexpensive Chinese factories. They're doing really great photography and really fantastic showrooms and stores and marking the product up. There's a lot of information out there too about Restoration Hardware nightmares with their furniture and the quality. This is an article from back in 2011 about this family that they bought their Restoration Hardware dining table, and it's kind of about the nightmare that happened when her daughter spilled a glass of water on top of the dining table and the issues that ensued. So another thing that's really fun with shopping retail, I had a client who had some existing Pottery Barn window hardware that she wanted matched in another room. I went online to order it. Oh, what happened? The rods and the brackets are in stock, the rings are in stock, and the finials are back ordered for almost 2 months. So I know this is something that we run into with retail a lot too. When our clients hire interior designers, they are relying on us to be informed about the furniture we're putting into their homes and in their commercial spaces. It's really on us to educate ourselves about what we're speccing for our clients. And we also need to educate our clients on the difference between retail and trade sources. So I like this analogy about fast food. So educating your clients on this sort of fast food approach that many of the furniture retailers versus a more of a farm to table approach of design trade furniture manufacturers. The retailers are making mass produced furniture that doesn't have great components. They're sending it out, they're charging a lot for it. Whereas trade manufacturers are making things in the US, they have warranties, they're made to order. Yes, it takes longer, but it will last you longer and you won't regret the purchase a couple months later. So I think a big part of our job as interior designers is about being educators too. So why do designers cling to retail even though it's bad for them? Just like this beefy man that this woman knows is bad for her, but she just can't stay away. I've been talking to a lot of other designers who just spec retail and kind of see what keeps them from going to trade resources, and wanted to talk about that. So one of the first kind of misconceptions is that they think their client can't afford to trade furniture. Whoops. So I want you to think about that for a minute. My client can't afford trade furniture. By definition, sourcing retail means that your clients are paying more for product than they would if you used trade sources. These retailers have a huge markup built into the retail pricing, and your client is paying that markup to the retailer instead of paying a smaller markup to you and getting a discount off of retail pricing. We're going to get into that in a little bit so you can see how the math works, but this is the entire reason around the trade sources in the system. There are thousands of the trade manufacturers, including sources that are middle and lower end. Sure, not all clients can afford a Holly Hunt sofa, but if you can afford to pay $3,000 to $4,000 for a Pottery Barn sofa that's made in China of substandard materials for the same cost, plus a decent markup for you, you can get a custom-made sofa from trade sources like Lee, Lexington, Robert Allen, Dura-Lee, and that sofa is going to have a kiln-dried hardwood frame with a lifetime warranty. It will be made in America, and it will last them way longer than 1 to 3 years with light use. My clients all get the Shannon sofa spiel when they're ordering a sofa, and I talk to them about the difference between getting a retail sofa and getting one that's a higher quality made to order thing. It's something I feel very passionately about, especially with upholstery. Another argument that a lot of designers get into is that their client wants the furniture right away. Sorry. So again, see the previous comment I made about the fast food analogy. We have to educate our clients that good furniture takes time. That said, if you really have to get product right away, at least half of the trade sources out there has some sort of quick ship or in-stock furniture program. And this still allows your client to choose from a lot of fabrics and finishes. You get to source products that you can be confident in. You can just ask your showroom reps which pieces they can get in a hurry. Another option is a lot of showrooms will sell pieces directly off the floor, still at designer net pricing. So if you're really in a rush, there are options. You don't have to go to retail. You can set up a delivery from the showroom floor for the next day. You're a hero. Your client still gets a very customized, one-of-a-kind look. Here are a couple of examples of the quick ship programs that a lot of these places have. Holly has an entire catalog of in-stock furniture you can look at. Sorry, my computer's really bogging down right now. Curated Cravat has a bunch of ready-to-ship custom upholstery, which is unheard of. I know that Arteriors has a bunch of sofas that are available in 2 different fabrics that ship within 72 hours. Robert & Allen has a whole quick ship custom furniture. You can choose from 30 fabrics, 25 frames, get everything customized in 4 weeks. That's really unheard of. Visual Comfort has a whole catalog of what they have on hand. So again, just a very small sample of examples of companies out there that have items that are ready to ship. Another thing people say, my client wants to sit in and touch and see the furniture they're ordering, and absolutely they should, and absolutely they can. That's the whole point of a showroom. You can take your client in, you can walk them around, they can sit and touch and see what they're buying. What I usually do if I'm trying to find a piece that's on the showroom floor to show my clients, I'll call the showroom head and say, what pieces do you have on the floor? Because it's always changing. You can see if those pieces will work with what you're designing. In an entire design center, they probably have, I don't even know, close to 100 different sofas and sectionals, if not more, on the floor that your client can come in and test out. If you're building a custom upholstery piece for your client, you can have the showroom provide examples of the different cushion types that that manufacturer has options for. Find pieces that have similar seat depths to what your client is sitting in. It doesn't have to be the exact sofa. You can really get your client a picture of what a custom piece will look like. It allows the client to test drive their furniture. They kind of get to be involved in the design process, and it really enriches their experience. And then you're showing the client that you have this whole dedicated team of people in the showroom that are working to make their design happen. How trade pricing works. This is typically how it's all set up. So for furniture, usually to the traded showrooms, you typically get a 40% discount off of retail pricing. So for example, a $2,000 chair at retail for 40% off, that gets your designer net price is $1,200. So you save $800 off retail. That's a discount that's only available to you as an interior designer. Your client cannot get that discount. So you take that piece, you add your markup to the net price. This markup is just an example. I'm basically trying to illustrate that you can add the same markup on that your discount is and your client will still pay less. So if you take that $1,200 chair, you put a 40% markup on it, that gets your client's price on the chair at $1,680. So your client still saves $320 off of the retail price with a 40% markup, which is it's a pretty good markup as far as standard practice goes. So your client still saves money off of a retail price of the chair. You make a $480 profit on the sale of the chair. That's a win-win. It's a piece your client can't get through standard retailers. It's customized to their design, and you make a markup and you can pay your mortgage and eat. Fabric, it's usually a 50% discount. So a $200 yard of fabric would be $100 for your designer net, or $100 savings off retail. Add your markup to the fabric. If you add a 50% markup on the fabric, that makes the client's price on the fabric $150 a yard. Your client's still saving $50 a yard off retail, or 25%. Designer makes a $50 profit, and again, win-win. This is what we're talking about when we're talking about the wholesale price, adding a markup so that you can eat and operate your business, and then your client is still getting a discount off of retail. So here are a couple of examples of trade pricing versus retail pricing. This to me is kind of the meat and potatoes of what we're talking about. So this first example is a chair that West Elm sells. It's a nailhead task chair. The retail price is $399 on this chair, $399. With their Williams-Sonoma designer discount price, it puts the designer price on this chair at $319. This chair is made by Four Hands. Four Hands retail price on the chair is $486. The price that I get on this chair from my showroom is $243. So you can see the difference between the Williams-Sonoma quote-unquote trade price and what you can actually get the chair for through a showroom. So you take your trade price at $243, you add a 40% markup, again, just an example. That's a pretty good markup. You sell the chair to your client for $340. They're still paying 15% under West Elm's retail prices, and instead of West Elm making the markup, you're making the markup profit on that chair. Client's still paying under retail, you're making a markup. Example 2, this is from Wayfair. There's been a lot of talk on the IVD Facebook group lately about Wayfair. So Wayfair's, this is a chair from Lexington. Wayfair lists the list price of this chair at $2,829. I'm not sure where they get that because Lexington's list price on this chair is $2,230. So I don't know if they're inflating the list price. I think they do that to make it look like you're getting a better discount. So their quote-unquote trade price on this piece is $1,799.10. Through my showroom with a custom fabric on both not custom, it's an inline fabric within Lexington, but I got to choose from 500 different fabrics. Mid-grade fabric, the trade price is $1,338. So I hope that this is illustrating to you what you are paying when you're paying retail. You're basically giving up you're basically handing over a big markup to the retailer, and you aren't profiting from that markup. So if you go get this chair from the showroom and pay your trade price at $1,338, add a 40% markup, the client's price is $1,873, and your client is paying 16% under Lexington's list price. You're making a 40% profit, and you get to select the fabrics, the finishes, all of that stuff. Another fantastic example from Wayfair. This is a Global Views branch panel. Global Views is a wholesale accessories company. Wayfair's list price on this is $223. Their very generous trade price on this is a whopping 7% off, or $206.95. If you buy this panel directly through Global Views with your direct account, the price on this panel is $89. Wayfair is giving it to you for $207. So you could take this piece, you could add a 225% markup, and your client's price would still be under Wayfair's retail price. I'm not saying you should mark it up 225%. I'm illustrating how much retailers mark up the product that they're selling to you and to your clients. This is an example from Lamps Plus. It's a lamp that retails at $341. You can buy it directly from Port 68. You can open a direct account with them and pay $155. Shipping was $27. Again, you could add a 225% markup on this piece, sell it to your client, and your price would still be under the Lamps Plus's retail price. So I hope you're starting to kind of get an idea of what kind of margins retailers are working on. Last example, my favorite example, this beautiful French cuff sconce from Serena and Lily. They sell it at $598 with their, I think they have a 20% of trade discount that puts it at $478.40. Oh, Circa Lighting also makes, well, Circle Lighting makes this sconce. Their retail price on the sconce is $399. So the retail from a different manufacturer, and not a different manufacturer, sorry, a different, from the original manufacturer, the retail price is $200 less than Serena and Lily's retail price. But wait, visual comfort makes all of Circle Lighting. Your trade price with a direct account on this piece is $189.95. Serena and Lily sells that same sconce for $598. You could put a 300% markup on trade pricing, and you would still be lower than Serena and Lily's retail price. Williams-Sonoma, Restoration Hardware, these guys, they don't need our business. Clearly, they're doing A-okay on their own. They have free in-house design services that undercuts the value of the services we provide, and they're making a killing on their mass-made overseas furniture markups. Instead of buying from retail sources for our clients, we should support manufacturers who sell to the trade at prices that allow us to grow our business and make a decent living. The key is, again, to educate our clients about the value of working with an interior designer. It doesn't mean that they're going to have to pay out the nose for top-end merchandise. It just means they're paying for quality, one-of-a-kind design that will last, and then they're paying for it under retail price. Sorry, I get very worked up about this. When you start looking at it stuff side by side, it makes me crazy. All right, so how do we go about working with the showroom? So step one is really to find your local or regional design center, make a trip out there, visit the design center, look around, and ask the showroom salespeople for a tour in the showrooms that appeal to you. That's what they're there for. Say, hey, I really like what you have. Can you show me your lines and tell me what you've got? The showroom reps are a huge resource for us. They're super knowledgeable about manufacturers, furniture construction, lead times, custom capabilities, all that stuff. These people are people that you're going to be building a long relationship with. You know, if you're going to be opening up trade accounts, these showrooms, these manufacturers have been around for decades upon decades, and you're going to be working with the same people throughout your career. They're a huge resource. Utilize them. You will open an account with your new favorite showrooms. So to do this, you usually need a reseller's permit, which is issued through your state. Basically, that gives you access to wholesale pricing. And when you're buying wholesale or trade pricing, you're not paying sales tax to the manufacturer. You're charging your client for the sales tax, and you're paying that to your state separately. Reseller's permits available. Google it. It's an easy process to apply for one. And then once you've opened an account with your favorite showrooms, you can start shopping for fabulous pieces for your clients. Once you have found a piece, especially if it's something custom, if it's not something that's just going to be off the shelf that comes in a certain finish or whatever, you need to request a quote from the showroom for that piece. So usually when I'm requesting a quote, I write it up in email. I include all the details I can think of, like manufacturer, size, fabric, finish, item number, all that stuff. Make their job easy. You know, write down exactly what it is that you need them to quote. If it's something like a completely custom sofa or a sectional or something that has lots of moving parts, it might be easier to just meet in person to review the details in the showroom. It just makes it a little bit easier if you're close enough to do that, or over the phone. And two, you would enter the item details. If you're using an IV, you create a product with all the item details. I usually use a vendor description so that it has all that detail on a separate line item. My client doesn't need to see the 17 different options that they're getting. Add your markup to the item, insert it into a proposal, and then you get approval and a deposit on the item from your client. And then once you're ready to order, you generate a purchase order for the item. In Ivy, you can email it directly to the showroom, which I love. And then you include all the pertinent details on the purchase order. Then the showroom usually responds with a formalized sales order. They're basically just saying, okay, here is on our paperwork what we will be ordering for you. Here are all the options, the finishes, the colors, dimensions, etc. Usually review that sales order, make sure everything's kosher, and then send your payment in to get the order placed. On long lead items, usually it's a 50% deposit with most showrooms, and then voila, your order is placed. So I know that's kind of a brief overview. If you have questions, just ask the showroom salespeople. They're super knowledgeable. I've been in the industry for 13 years and I have questions all the time. We just need to be really willing to ask questions. It's way better to ask questions than be afraid to ask questions and then not know what you're doing later on. Again, the people are super knowledgeable. They're a huge asset for your business. Just go out there, find your new trade showroom best friends. All right, the next question, how does the furniture get to your client? You can use the Mr. Bean method where he puts it on top of his Mini and drives it over. I think there are probably better ways, although I'm a big Mr. Bean fan. So when you're ordering from two of the trade vendors, freight costs are charged in addition to the designer net pricing. So there are shipping freight charges in addition to the designer net pricing. So typically the actual freight costs are not determined until the item is shipped. I'm not entirely sure why this is. I think they just have to wait to get a freight quote from the freight company. And then once the item is shipped, the trade showroom will send you a final invoice showing whatever balance is due along with the actual freight charges. Again, that's typical in my experience. So freight can be kind of challenging to estimate when you're trying to let your clients know what things are going to cost. But as you get more comfortable working with specific vendors and getting items shipped to your receiver, you start to get a sense of how much it costs to ship a sofa or a chair or a chandelier, etc. In the process, it might sound a little bit daunting, but after the first few orders of projects, it's very easy, it's very natural, and it's way simpler than trying to schedule multiple deliveries from all these different retailers. Another thing, a lot of furniture retailers talk about free shipping. The shipping's not free. They're not paying it for you just to be nice. It's just rolled into their price. So when you're helping your client with accounting and budgeting for their project, you need to definitely remind them that they're going to be paying actual shipping costs, and it's not an inflated retail price with free shipping. They're actually paying what it costs to get the item here. Lastly, a receiving warehouse. We're going to talk about this just really briefly, and I apologize, we're getting a little low on time, so I'm going to have to rush through this, but of course, ask any questions. So a receiving warehouse, most of the traded furniture manufacturers, they're not going to ship an item without a loading dock because they're coming on big trucks. So they're not going to be able to deliver it to your office or to your client's house. Instead, they require you to ship to a qualified receiving warehouse. And some showrooms require you to sign an acknowledgement that you know that the pieces have to be shipped to a receiving warehouse, and they'll ask you who the receiver is going to be so they know where pieces are going. So what is a receiving warehouse? It's a company that receives a shipment of goods. They unpack and inspect the items for damage when they get to the warehouse. They place any freight claims if items arrive damaged, or they'll reject the shipment and have it sent back to the manufacturer. They'll assemble any items that require assembly. They can repackage, consolidate, and store items until your project is ready for delivery. And then once you're ready for delivery, they do a white glove delivery service. They bring in all the pieces, they take away all the packaging. And then the big thing that I love about using receiving warehouse is you can get everything delivered to the client's house at once, and you get this really high impact reveal. It's not piece by piece, it's all at one time. And it is really exciting for them and for you. So your clients may say, okay, well, why can't they just deliver everything to my house? I had a client ask this the other day. And so I just basically copied and pasted the things I said in my email. So basically a lot of the manufacturers won't they can't ship to a place that doesn't have a loading dock. Talk about that they are inspecting all the furniture for damage and everything, and that any issues that come up, the freight or the receiver will take care of. They can put together items that arrive unassembled. I don't want to do that. My client doesn't want to do that, so it's nice. It also protects any item from being stolen. It's a big issue here in the Seattle area, and I'm sure elsewhere too. And then also, we're not having to worry about stuff getting left out in the rain, someone not being home, all of that, and then you don't have to deal with disposing the packaging, etc. So essentially, I just tell my clients, for the cost of receiving and a really reasonable delivery fee, it saves you both and me a lot of time and potential headaches. It makes sure all the furniture arrives safely and in good condition. And, you know, you just make sure that they know they're going to be happy with the level of service. These guys are professionals and they know what they're doing. So that is kind of the overall. So just to recap, to me, getting items that are customized for our clients, it's the value that we bring as an interior designers to our client. We get them unique custom designs that are made out of quality components that no one else can get. And the other thing we need to keep in mind is over a 30+ year career as a designer, we'll purchase exponentially more furniture than any individual household. So in doing so, we can use those dollars to support to the trade manufacturers that value craftsmanship, and then they offer a high quality of life to their workers. And they also support us as interior designers, allowing us to have viable businesses. And to me, how and where we source our products is part of our professional contribution to the world. Now time for Q&A. I know we had to kind of rush through that. It was a lot of information. I'm totally happy to take any questions you guys have via email. You can follow me on Instagram. Let's be design friends. So, all right, questions. So I guess I go down here to questions and answers. All right, Nancy asks, my biggest problem with specifying trade vendors is that clients often want to see things in person before they buy and sit on furniture, especially sofas. Most of the trade sources I love don't have local showrooms. Any advice as to how to push to use trade in these cases? That is a really good question, Nancy. I hope I answered it a little bit earlier. I think that you just have to be a little bit creative about the sources that you use if you want to use trade sofas. Like I said, you can contact showrooms and then see what they have on the floor. If you're using a specific vendor and they don't have that particular sofa on the floor, you can find a sofa that has the similar seat depth or similar height, and you can take your client and say, hey, the sofa you're going to buy is similar to this. Here's some cushion options. You know, the clients have to have a little bit of imagination, but there's definitely a way to do it. And I think that that's the big thing that showrooms offer. And hey, you know, maybe when you're in the showroom, you'll see another piece your client likes better, and then they'll be able to try the actual piece, and you can go from there. I've also actually gone to local furniture stores because the showroom didn't have the specific sofa I wanted, and the furniture store did, and I ended up buying it through them because they had a similar trade discount. So there are ways around it. Lori Brock asks, I think it would be interesting to discuss when using direct vendor accounts, what is the best way to get stocking dealer pricing rather than the more minimal designer pricing? Also, how are we to make some sort of markup on the wholesale cost while ensuring the pricing we are selling for is what below is being offered on the internet? All right, the stocking dealer thing, as far as I understand it, means that you actually have to have a retail presence. I could be totally wrong on that. So if you want to open a showroom, then, you know, actually have a furniture store that people can buy furniture from. I think that's how you get the stocking dealer pricing. The markup on wholesale cost versus what they can buy online. I think it depends on who your client is. For me, I don't say on my proposal, this is a Bernhardt coffee table. I say, this is a coffee table. Here's the design, here's the size. Unless it's a Holly Hunt sofa or something where the provenance of the piece is really important. I don't think that we need to be feeding our clients information that allow them to shop us, first of all. Secondly, if you're using designer pricing like we talked about and your markup is in line, you're not going to be over retail pricing. So it all goes into how you run your business and having that conversation with your clients. It's not up to you to be the Walmart of interior designers. If they want a cheap price, they can go use a free designer at a furniture store and get crappy furniture, you know. It's a lot of education. I hope that answered your question. Lindsay writes, I also see a lot of different answers about being transparent with the client about the markup percentage. What do you think is best? I often find when I tell clients I'm marking up product, they get angry to know I'm making more money off their project. I think that we take the same approach as retailers take. Pottery Barn doesn't have a big sign in there that says, hey, we mark up our stuff 300%, and that's what you buy. I don't say in my contract, I mark up your furniture to my clients. I say that you purchase furniture through me, I get you exclusive furniture, and you get to pay below retail pricing. I think when you get into talking numbers with your client, you say, I give you a such and such markup, that people get really nitpicky, and it opens up a can of worms. It's totally up to, of course, each individual business owner. I don't go there. Nordstrom doesn't tell me what they paid for the pair of pants that I'm buying. I know that what the price is the price. And that's how I work with my clients. I'm worried about details that occur after the purchase, shipping, receiving, deliver. Can you talk about that process? I know we touched on that. Hopefully that was helpful information. If you have more questions, definitely reach out to me, let me know. But essentially you buy the piece through your showroom. The showroom works with the manufacturer to ship it. They ship it to your receiving warehouse. You're going to have to find a local receiving warehouse, ask other designers who they use, or ask the showrooms who they recommend. And they'll ship it to the receiver, and then you work with the receiver to set up a delivery. So it seems daunting. It's actually a lot simpler than it seems. Kate writes, I've had a lot of logistical issues returning items after I purchase for clients. Sometimes it makes it not worth my time at all, even with the commission discount. Any ideas to make returns easier and still feel good for the client? Ms. Kate, I do not offer returns on items to my clients. Most of what I give them is custom made, and I put on my proposal right off the bat. Each item on this proposal is considered custom and is non-returnable. You're going to drive yourself crazy if you're offering returns and all this stuff for your clients. It's like you're saying, it's a huge time suck, and it eats up your profit very, very quickly. I don't offer returns. If it's something small that I got locally that's easy to return, maybe, but in general, it's not an option, and the clients know that going into it. Susan writes, agreed with previous posters on seeing items in person, especially with upholstery items. How do you handle when a client wants to sit on the sofa they'll be spending thousands of dollars on? Many to the trade are hard to get in the exact model in the design center for trying out. Susan, I hope I answered your question with what we talked about earlier. If your client needs to sit in the exact sofa they're going to buy, then prior to really delving into the exact specifications for the sofa, I would just call around to different showrooms, see what they have on the floor, and offer this to your client. There are lots of options out there, and if the client's that persnickety, then you can just stick with the actual piece they're going to be buying. How can you find, Kate asks, how can you find out who actually makes the products we're seeing in retail? That's a really great question. Sometimes you can right click and say, search Google for this item. If you're in Chrome, that's what I did with that Port 68 lamp. I was on Lamps Plus, I liked it. I thought, I can see who else makes this. So I did a Google image search for it, and bam, it brought up the trade resources website that made it. So that's one way. You can ask other designers. On our ID Facebook group, that's a big point of discussion. Someone will post a coffee table and say, do you know who makes this coffee table? So it's, I mean, just kind of asking around. And then I think too, once you get around and you see a lot of the trade resources, you start to recognize product. Lindsay asks, do designers typically still charge hourly to place the order and manage on top of marking up the product? That's a good question, Lindsay. I currently do not. I stop charging hourly once an item gets ordered. Once an order is placed on an item, I stop billing hourly. Susan Winterstein, who's a big part of our ID community, made the argument that she still charges for it. She's still working on the client's project, and her markup is profit for her business. It's not there to cover her time. I think that's a really good argument, actually, and honestly, I'm thinking about rethinking my approach to that. It's all up to the individual. Wayfair, Bill writes, Wayfair is really causing a headache. Oh, where did it go? Oh my gosh, Bill, I just lost your, oh, there it goes. Wayfair is really causing a headache with our product sales. Now that they just sell out every vendor and offer a majority of the same options, it's hard for us to compete since they offer low price or free shipping and delivery. How have you and others dealt with this? Freight and in-home delivery services are a huge expense for us and makes it tough to compete against Wayfair and other similar online stores. Bill, I think that what I've been seeing with Wayfair comparing the prices against my showroom can still do way better on the pricing, including freight costs. So just like I showed you in that example, Wayfair's list price that they're showing is way higher than the actual list price. And I think that that's part of their algorithm and how they make it look like they're giving people a better deal. If clients are shopping you, again, first of all, you need to explain to the client it's not up to you to offer them the cheapest price. If they are shopping you repeatedly, you need to have a serious conversation with them. And if it's a client that you know is going to shop you, do everything custom. Clients can't shop custom. Get what I mean? I'm with you on Wayfair though. It's kind of a headache. But again, see that Wayfair chair? That chair didn't come in the fabric that my client's fitting it in. They could only order it in one fabric on Wayfair too. So I think we can still have an edge over Wayfair. Again, the free shipping isn't free. It's just rolled it into the price. Stephanie writes, the problem with trade is the shipping, freight costs, receiver, and then white glove delivery. Can you talk about that? We got into that a little bit. Again, tell your clients they're paying what the actual cost is. They're not paying an inflated retail price and then getting free shipping. It's not like these stores are just shelling out for shipping to get people's business. That's not how it works. Everyone, it seems like there are lots of questions about the shipping and additional costs and so forth. They're not additional costs. They're actual costs that your clients are actually paying instead of paying those ridiculous high retail costs. I know we're running out of time. We're almost done. I just want to say thanks again to Ivy so much for hosting. I really appreciate that. And again, if you don't know about Ivy, they're a really great resource to be able to manage your business. They've got a whole built-in community. It's a fantastic thing to look into. So if you guys have any other questions, though, please feel free to reach out via email, Facebook, find me. I'm here as a resource. I'm happy to help you all. So thank you again very much.